Hey, it's Dineta Willams-Trigg coming to you today with
Thommi A'mal.
absolutely my partner in horror crime. We are sponsored today by Phoenix FearCON. We're always happy to help Phoenix FearCON out, right?
Hey, Chris.
Thommi?
Hey, Chris. Yes, puts on fabulous events every year
Chris
for the
with
Phoenix
it.
FearCon, panels and guest stars coming through, all that good stuff. So Chris does a lot of work. So thank you very much, Chris, for bringing that to us every year.
Absolutely. And Jim. We don't want to forget Jim.
Yes, Jim.
Thank you, Jim,
Yes.
McKinnon, as well.
Yes.
So, Thommi, you and I are here once again. Spooky season. Spooky season. Talking about what, Thommi?
Villainous women in horror. Why? Because anything that men can do, women can do bloodier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know me, of course, I like the classics, right? So we're going to be talking about classic villainous women in horror. And then Thommi,
I'm going to do some that are more modern and introduce you to one that's not very well known, but I think you are going to like. See, for me, it's all about the women. I root when it's women power, but I also root when there are women psychopaths.
woo-hoo,
I
Thommi,
like
Thommi, you
it.
scared me, you scared me.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I've been waiting for this.
So just remember that these, of course, are not, everyone. It's not everyone. We couldn't put everyone. We don't have time for everyone to be on the list. But these, we always just pick kind of our favorites, don't we, Thommi?
Yes.
And so, again, my favorite villainous women are from classical movies, movies from back in the day, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, because, I love those kind of movies. So, my first classical villainous woman is actually a villainous child. Yes. I'm talking about The Bad Seed, 1956. That little Miss Rhoda Pembroke.
You mean the demon seed is what she should have been called, because that little girl, ooh-wee. Like, where did she get it from?
Yeah, well,
We're going to find out.
Her mother feels like it's because her parent was a serial killer, right?
It does get passed down. There's something going on in that head of hers. And this little girl, oh my gosh, she's like the most... I wanted to grab through the screen a couple of times. So I'm wondering how people back then took this movie when they initially seen it.
Absolutely.
For a child.
I know. One of her first victims is a kid that she drowns at the school picnic.
Because he wouldn't give her his medal. What a little freaking brat.
Exactly. You know what? She also pushes her upstairs neighbor down the stairs because her upstairs neighbor had a piece of jewelry that she wanted. The neighbor said, "Hey, I'm going to give you the jewelry when I die." And so little Rhoda was thinking,
now?
Yeah.
Like now is when I want the jewelry,
Let me help you
yeah.
along. She kills the caretaker.
Leroy. They call him, they pronounce it Leroy, and it's funny because I'm like, Leroy? Okay, Leroy. I can get with Leroy. But Leroy had her peeped out.
He did. He knew. And I think by this time her mother, her adoptive mother, was starting to suspect
she was feeling it.
Something was wrong.
Mothers feel when something is right, and she was feeling something is just not clicking here. So when she started hearing stuff, she's like, this ain't right. And every time, sometimes she would ask her a question, she would deflect. Like, this little girl is really smart. You know what I mean? She'd ask her questions about stuff, and she'd, oh, mommy, honey, stop. Answer the question that I just asked you about this freaking murder.
Oh, yes.
She's very manipulative.
Very manipulative. Oh, mommy, I love you.
Yeah.
You're the most beautiful mommy in the whole wide
And I was
world.
looking at her like, you little heifer, quit it. Oh, you get an Oscar. You're getting an Oscar for
She should
that.
have won an Oscar for The Bad
Because
Seed.
you little...
I
I almost called that little girl names, and I had to stop because I had to remember she's a little girl, but I was calling her some pretty bad names.
Absolutely. And you made note that her face just looked a lot older
Yes.
than her, her years.
Yes, it did. Very distinct features in her face. And I think that made it a little creepier for me. With the two little braids and that face, it kind of reminded me of Orphan.
Yep.
Of Esther. They got that face that's a little bit too grown for him, but Yeah.
Yep, in the body of a child. So we won't tell you how the bad seed ends, but
it was satisfying, I can tell you that.
You can find it on all the streaming channels, and I'm sure because of the year it came out, 1956, you could probably watch it for free.
I think I pulled it up. I want to say I pulled it up on HBO Max.
Okay.
Because what I do when I'm looking for certain movies, I'll just type it in my browser, where can I watch this? And it'll give me a list of all the places. And I'm almost sure I watched it on HBO Max.
Yeah, and I'm sure that pretty much all of the movies that we talk about are probably streaming somewhere. So if you want just a really, I don't know, engrossing film, it is in black and white, watch the 1956 version of The Bad Seed.
And I think this movie set some precedent for, what was it, The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
There's also a movie that I accidentally stumbled upon watching Tubi, because Tubi has a lot of hidden gems. If you're not hip to Tubi, you might want to check it out. But they have a lot of great horror on there. I stumbled across a film called Mikey. And it was kind of like The Good Son. This little boy was a little murderer, and he was very manipulative. And, you know, oh, we're going to adopt this kid. He's just the greatest. And, you know, he tells us, oh, hi, Mom. I'm so happy to be here. But the little boy was a little murderer. So I think The Bad Seed set a precedent for those movies to come out, and they did a good job with it.
For children murderers.
Yes.
You get a chance to watch Joshua as well.
Oh.
With Vera Farmiga. Also, her son is kind of a little off and a little murderer as well. So, I mean, we can talk forever about child murders. Unfortunately, there's a lot of patricide that goes on in our society.
Yes.
So, if you're into that kind of thing, check out The Bad Seed.
I'm into that kind of thing. And I'm going to watch Joshua.
Okay. All right.
It excites me. All right. Now, next, I'm going to go ahead and do one of our more modern movies. So, next slide. I'm going to do one of our more modern takes. I'm going to start with Urban Legend, 1998. Who? Rebecca Gayheart as Brenda Bates. And we all know Rebecca Gayheart. We referred to her for the longest time as the Noxzema girl. Because she had those big old pretty eyes and that curly hair. And when you seen her in that commercial, her face was so memorable. And I'm sure she blew up a lot from there. But in Urban Legend, we got this little petite girl. And what it is, you don't find out to the end why she is killing these people. But she had a good reason.
Absolutely. She has vengeance in her heart.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Absolutely.
Especially when it's multiple people that cause her to be scorned. And it's really good because the whole time, most of the time, when we watch horror, right, we think it's men.
Yeah.
We assume it's the men. You know, you look at the build and all that, but you kind of got to get past a little bit when you're watching some movies. You got to get past the fact that, you know, she's a small, petite girl. But here's one of the fun facts about that movie, why when you see her, she's a nice, petite woman, but then when you see her committing these murders, she's in this big old winter gear. Well, I found out that they were originally going to make this movie, it was going to be winter in the movie, but they changed their mind because they were going to have to not only put everybody in winter clothes, but they were going to have to fake the snow and all of that. So they changed their mind, but they decided to keep her parka. So that was an interesting fact in that movie. But when you watch Urban Legend, this is 1998. You know, it starts out with, you know, us talking about the urban legends, like, you know, like Bloody Mary and all that kind of stuff that goes around. We never know if it's really true, or the girl that pulls up at the gas station and they see somebody in the back seat of her car and they try to tell her, but she's, you know, thinking they're trying to kill her and all that good stuff. So you see that kind of stuff in here, but then you see what the movie is actually about, and she's scorned. And this is one of the ones where I kind of rooted for her because of what they did. And, you know, nobody wanted to be, you know, liable, or you take acceptance. I did something wrong. I need to make it right. So she made it right herself.
Absolutely.
And I ain't mad at her.
The only way you can do it. Now, what year did Urban Legends come out?
1998.
1998.
Okay. Yep. And she played Brenda Bates, and boy, did she play that role good. I would love, hopefully sometime in the future at one of the Phoenix FearCONs, I would love to have her there.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be fantastic.
That would be great.
Yes.
Rebecca Gayheart. I always, a little fact about Rebecca Gayheart is that she killed somebody with her car.
I just found that out. It was somewhere in a couple decades ago. I guess, you know, a little kid was crossing the street and everybody was slowing down. She decided to speed up a little bit, go around, and unfortunately the little boy didn't make it.
So, and she says, you know, of course she thinks about that every single
I bet
day of her life. So
I bet.
You know, that's something pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's very
to deal
tragic.
with. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very tragic. But I like her in this movie. So definitely, if you haven't already seen Urban Legend, definitely check it. It's a really good watch. You're going to a couple jump scares in there. You'll laugh because you're going to hear some of those myths that we knew growing up. You know what I mean? Check out Urban Legends if you haven't.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so let's insert the next slide.
All right.
Which happens to be the year I was born, 1962. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, you just told the whole world.
I told the whole world.
But you don't look it though.
Thank you.
So that's quite all right.
Thank you.
You look great.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Ooh,
Starring those movie icons, Joan Crawford and Betty Davis.
Honey, first of all, they didn't like each other, did they?
No, they did not
in real
like
life.
each other. Really, in real life, they were competitors. Whatever happened to Baby Jane was about Bette Midler. Stop that, John. Stop, John. Stop the filming. I need to go back. So go ahead and insert this next slide. Next, I'm talking about the 1962 hit, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, with those two movie icons, Joan Crawford and Betty Davis.
Now, they didn't care for each other in real life, am I correct?
They did not. They were competitors. I think very jealous of each other's careers. When they got together to film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962, they were kind of at the end of their careers, and this film sort of put them back in the spotlight again.
I bet it did. She played the heck out of that crazy sister role.
Absolutely. So of course, Betty Davis plays Baby Jane, who was a child actor, who, of course, as she started to grow older, lost that baby innocence and could no longer work. Though in her
she couldn't accept it.
Couldn't accept it. In her mind, she still was that sweet, innocent girl. She continued to dress like a young child. And, she's living with her sister in this sort of decrepit apartment, and just being really mean to Joan Crawford.
She was, we're going past mean. She was to the point where it was just almost torturous. I mean, the hate and when I say she played the heck out of it, I mean, my goodness.
She was, and for that time, I mean, she was.
Yes,
she
especially
was really
for that time.
Very, very cruel. She serves Joan a rat for dinner one night.
She was starving her.
Yes, remind
on
you,
purpose.
Joan is paralyzed from the waist down, so she can't walk. She can't really take care of herself. So she is at the mercy of the Betty Davis character of Baby Jane.
And she even makes it a point where she goes places. Now, these people, these guys are like 25, 30. I'm Baby Jane. And they always kind of sit there and like, oh, okay. Who? and she's having a hard time. I think she's having a hard time accepting the career ending, her age. And even just looking at the way she dresses and her makeup, you can tell that she's still in this fantasy world. But she's so hateful. But
she is.
The names that I called her, while I was watching this, I'm not going to say it out loud because there's some of the worst words that I can't stand to call, people call females, but I called her some really bad words, and then I got hit with a twist.
Yep.
If you haven't seen it, I don't want to tell you, but the twist kind of got me.
Yeah. It's a great film. It's a classic film.
Yeah.
Of course, Baby Jane is the villainess. Joan Crawford plays Blanche, so she's, you sympathize with her more.
And she was so pretty, so nice. So you do sympathize with her, and it makes you hate Baby Jane a little bit more, but you're going to find out some stuff later.
Yeah. And so, again, real quick, not to give away the story, but Baby Jane became upset because Blanche had planned to sell the mansion. And so Baby Jane could not let that happen.
There was no money coming in anymore. Like you said, she's hoping to revive her career, but the odds are.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So, again, it's in black and white. It came out in 1962. So, when you get a chance, check it out.
Good. All right, next. I am going with one of my favorite 80s campy films, Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, my goodness.
1983.
Didn't you just get to meet them?
I met Felissa Rose. Yes, she did a talk back at Majestic Theater. And she had us cracking up. First of all, her face still looks the same. I mean, she still looks like Angela Baker, that she played in Sleepaway Camp. But she did a talk back during the movies, and she gave us some information that we would have never known. Like, did you know that that was James Earl Jones' dad in that movie? I said, what?
Yeah.
No idea. Some of the, where they prepare the meals for the kids, there were fly traps with flies, and she said all of that was real. That wasn't just put in for the movie. I mean, she gave us so much stuff, and she said they made fun of her during the movie. They kept calling her Bubble Butt, because she had a little butt. But she wasn't under 18. I don't think when she did the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But she told us about the little drama going on behind there. Her cousin, she said he actually did not like doing the movie, like at all. In real life, he didn't like doing it. Yeah. But with Sleepaway Camp, they made a total of, I think it was 4. However, the 4th one was not necessarily completed. I like part 1 and 2, and what it is with this movie is that you got 2 kids, a brother and sister. They're out boating with their dad. There's a boating accident. Okay, one of the kids dies. The other one goes to live with their aunt, who I don't know what she was on, but when I say this woman was loopy as F, I mean, so she sends them off to summer camp, right? So you got Angela, right? Her brother, died in the accident. So you got Angela and her cousin. So they go to this camp. Angela's really quiet. She doesn't talk. She's very, kind of withdrawn and very shy. But for some reason, these camp counselors, there's one called Meg. They won't leave her alone. The girl's shy, but they just want to pick with her and you do this and that, But they're kind of bullying her, and she's just the sweetest little thing, and she doesn't talk. Well, people start getting hacked up. And the people that start getting hacked up, guess what? They deserve it. They deserve it.
First, though. Beyond is the first one.
Oh, yeah, her and then the camp counselors, the one that were just acting crazy for her. But then after a while, there's a boy who really likes her. He's okay with her being shy and quiet, and she kind of likes him back. But there's a reason why she's not coming, clean with people and talking, having conversations, or why she won't shower with the other girls. And listen, if you watch this for the first time, the ending is going to just slap you right in the face. And a lot of the body doubles that they used for the killer, it was, and Angela, it was actually a guy that they just kind of picked up on the street. In these movies, as you know, in 80s, it's the 80s formula. You're going to see some nudity, some full frontal you're going to see in there. But one of the full frontals with Angela, I'm not going to tell you what it was about. That was a body double. You'll figure it out why. And when you watch this, I want you, and sometimes if you're on my Facebook page, chat with me, or on our movie page, chat with us. This is it kind of dabbles LGBTQ, but I don't want to tell you how. I want you to see it, and when you see it, you'll want to watch part 2. And this is just like one of my favorite. It for the times. I want to say this made, if I'm not mistaken, $11 million at the box office. Do you know how much that money was in the 80s?
That time, yeah.
That is an insane, and for horror, that is an insane amount of money, which makes sense why they went on to do a part 2 and part 3 of it. Yeah. Yes. Watch Sleepaway Camp. Me and my cousin just have this thing going back and forth where we just make these jokes and memes about Sleepaway Camp. We don't even have to put a caption on it. We know the scenes. We know some of the quotes. This is in my top 5 favorite campy horror movies. Sleepaway Camp. And if you haven't seen it, when you do, you're going to start seeing all kind of memes and you're going to get it. But this is one of my favorite, and this is one where I had to root for the psycho.
Yes, rooting for the psycho is always fun. I think it's because we're psychos. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't decide if are we psychopaths or sociopaths? Are we mixed? Are we a new breed? I don't know.
I like it.
But whatever it is that we are, we love it. We love who we are.
We love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yes.
All
okay.
Right. This next horror villainess, I don't think people really think of her as a horror villainess, or they forget about her.
Mm-hmm.
Since we talked about a child, since I talked about Bad Seed, now as being a child, now let's talk about a mother who's a horror villainess.
Yes.
Let's talk about Margaret White from the 1976 movie Stephen King book Carrie. Margaret was horrendous. She was a, I believe, straight, religious nut. And I don't mean to offend religious people.
I think we get it.
But
I totally get it.
Margaret White locking Carrie in the closet because she was a sinner. just because she starts,
quote unquote,
yes,
puberty, which is insane.
Margaret White, get down on your knees and pray with me. Come on, get down on your knees and pray with me.
Like, girl, it's simple science of the human body. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I think she was mentally ill. It's clear that Margaret was a mentally ill religious fanatic. Okay, and was neglectful. She didn't tell Carrie, this is what's going to happen to you once you hit puberty. So Carrie thought she was going to die.
And that's what kind of, I'm sure was already being bullied, but that just put the icing on the cake. And it was so sad. That's one of the saddest scenes that I've seen in movies, knowing because her mother could have prevented that from happening. Her reaction from it, which then led the other girls to continue to bully her. And that scene breaks my heart.
It does. And another thing that's really was moving was when Carrie's in the shower and all the bully girls are throwing tampons at her. Again, because she doesn't know, she thinks she's bleeding.
Yeah, she's like screaming and running out, oh, help me, and they're looking at her like, oh, you need tampon. Girls, come on, now this is we're supposed to be, have a girl bond here, especially when it comes to something like that. Exactly. But these little bees were some little,
Yes. Yeah, and the whole fact that Margaret put Carrie in the closet because of just a normal body function.
Right.
So again, you and I as serial killers, we would have had to dispatch Margaret White. She just didn't
she would have to be gotten rid of. And it's interesting because I don't think until you mentioned it, most people would have seen her as a villain.
She's a villain. And if you get a chance to see Carrie, the original version, 1976, please watch it. I think it.
Yes.
There are several reboots of Carrie, but I think the original 1976 version of Carrie is really good.
The one with Sissy Spacek is probably my favorite.
Yes,
I've seen 2 of the remakes. I wasn't very fond of them. But again, when it comes to certain classics like that, I like them to remain untouched.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes it's hard to beat them.
It's hard to beat.
And Sissy Spacek was a fantastic actress anyways, and she's still acting now, which is great. I'd like to see her more.
Yes.
But sometimes those classics are what do it for you. Yes. Totally agree. Okay. All right, next slide, please. Okay. Now, I'm going to do one that is one of my favorite franchises. I will watch every single one of them. I don't care if they make 25. I'm going with Bride of Chucky, 1998. I'm watching every single. I even watched the series is even good.
Yes,
I was surprised at Chucky's series, but this one is about Jennifer Tilly as Tiff. Her name's Tiffany there, but Chucky always refers to her as Tiff. Now let's talk about a woman scorned, right? So this is Tiff. It's been over 10 years. She's been looking for Chucky, couldn't find him. She finally finds him, and she is just ecstatic. She has got her man back. And the last time she seen him, there was a ring, like an engagement ring that she found. So she's knowing, when I get back to Chucky, we're getting married. We're going to go murder some people together. And this is just going to be great. So she revives Chucky. She does kind of the Ande Dewey Dimbala, one of those little spells, to get him back. Yeah, we're about to do this. Yeah, heck, Tiff already had a guy she was ready to sacrifice, ready for Chucky, a guy that she had been reeling in. Well, she's telling Chucky, I seen the ring you left for me, and and he's like, what? Wait a minute. You thought I was going to propose? Busts out laughing, and
disappointment.
Do you know that set her off? You laughing in my face after I thought you were going to marry me, and now you're laughing and saying I was delirious? You're going to pay for this. Exactly. You think you're bad, Chucky, but I'm about to show you something else. So Chucky decides, well, you know what? I'm not digging the way she's treated, because she tosses him in a cage. I'm like, that's right, girl. You waited 10 years, and you had that ring, and he acted like he's not going to marry you? He needs to be put in a cage. So now Chucky's like, okay, I got to get out of this situation. I'm going to get you. And he keeps threatening her. Now, get out of here. I'm going to kill you. But he does something worse. He ended up putting her into a doll. A little golfer-looking doll.
Exactly.
And now she kind of has to go along with him. But a lot of this in this movie, you're going to crack up. First of all, Jennifer Tilly is excellent as Tiff. And she still looks good. She still looks good at her age. When they're doing these remakes, she's even in the, one of the series. But the movie ensues on, first of all, she's pissed that he's put her in a freaking doll. She's this gorgeous, voluptuous woman. But now they're like, well, what are we going to do now?
Except kill people.
Yeah.
Kill people.
So again, she was a good villain. I wish she could have kind of did Chucky in, because he's so irritating. He's such a little jerk. But she did a good job in here, and I would call her a villain. But you know what? She was wanting to be a villain. She just wanted to do it with Chucky, but he had other plans. But this movie is one of my favorites. Like I said, I've seen every single one of them. I don't care if they make them for the next 20 years. I'm going to watch them. They are enjoyable for me, and they are fun. So check out Bride of Chucky.
What year again?
1998.
1998.
Yes, Jennifer
I know
Tilly.
that Chucky and Tiff did have a baby.
Oh, his name was Glenn.
Yes.
And that little boy, I'm sorry, kids are cute, but that little boy is ew. I'm sorry, he's not cute. He's not cute. Oh, they should not be having sex because they created their little child was just not cute.
He's a monster doll. He's not supposed to be cute.
No, he wasn't at all. They
was not anatomically correct.
No. But it's weird because they were anatomically correct when they made him, and they showed it. They showed it was pretty gross.
Yeah.
But they don't need to be mixing. They don't need to be mixing body fluids anymore because that kid was not cute.
So watch it.
Actually watch all of the Chuckies. I promise you, you'll get a kick out of it.
Check out the new series.
Yes, and the second season is on its way out. And I'm telling you, it's actually really good. I didn't think it was going to be good. I'm like, oh, here they go with the series. Why don't they just stop? And it was good, and the kids in there carry it. They're mostly kids in there. They carry it great.
Yeah, they do a great
Love
job.
it. So check out Bride of Chucky, 1998.
My next movie classic is the 1990 Misery with Kathy Bates and an actor who just died recently. Oh, gosh. Tell me his name, because I'm forgetting, and I don't have it in my notes. We'll think of it. But Kathy Bates plays Annie Wilkes, who is a nurse who I think is an angel of death because she's fired for killing people. And then, of course, she finds the character. What's the character?
The writer of her
Paul
book.
Sheldon.
Yeah, and he writes these books, and there's a girl in her misery, and she's obsessed with this.
Mm-hmm. She's obsessed with Misery, and Paul kills Misery off. And so when Annie finds Paul's car flipped over in an embankment, snowbank, she takes him home and nurses him back to health.
How bizarre.
But she's not a kind nurse at all. Not a kind nurse at all. And she makes Paul Sheldon rewrite Misery back into his books and brings her alive. So she's nuts.
I'm going to say I think she's a great example of a psychopath.
Absolutely.
And did you see the memes out where the most wrenching scene in history is when she breaks those ankles?
Oh my God.
Every time I watch that, I brace myself. I watch gore and I watch horror, but there's just something about when she puts that board between his ankles. Pop! Oh, you can feel it.
You can feel it. You see
it.
You feel it.
You hear it.
He screams like I would scream. I would probably scream louder.
But that's a good way to keep a man.
I don't want
that way he can't leave. I mean, you do what you got to do to keep a good man. I mean, however you do it. I mean, she treated him,
Yes.
Had a couple of my basement here and there, but whatever.
I mean, Annie, she kills a bunch of people. Annie kills
she
the
does.
sheriff who's come looking
The poor guy.
So I think that by the time Paul kills Annie, it's worth it. That
for
kill
her.
is worth it. Exactly. It was time for her to go.
And she lived out, kind of in the middle of nowhere, which I'm sure she probably enjoyed her solitude.
Sure.
She
picked that herself.
It wouldn't surprise me if she had bodies somewhere buried in the back.
That isolated cabin in the
Yeah.
woods. You have to always be careful.
Yes,
of those
absolutely.
Isolated cabin in the woods.
But Kathy Bates, she's synonymous for that role, and she did a phenomenal job in it.
Yes,
Phenomenal.
And the actor is James. What's James's last name?
I forgot his last name, but I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he just died recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, he did a great job. Another Stephen King book, because we love Stephen King.
Oh, I love Stephen King so much. Stephen King, if you're watching, I just want to meet you and spend a day with you. That's
Yes.
I want nothing else from you. That's all.
Absolutely.
I love Stephen King.
I think Misery was one of those Stephen King books that translated well to film.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them just don't translate well. But Misery was really good. And Annie Wilkes is right up there.
Mm-hmm.
She is a classic horror villainess.
Mm-hmm. And she looks good doing it. She looks good doing it.
Absolutely. And she won an Academy Award for that. So
as well. Misery is one of those movies that's always going to be a great classic.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad they didn't try to touch it again.
Exactly.
Don't get any ideas.
I'm glad that they haven't tried to reboot it.
Don't.
And it's just one of those, hey, it's spooky season, it's Halloween season. Do yourself a favor if you haven't seen Misery.
Yes.
1990. Watch it.
Yes. All righty. Okay, now I'm going to introduce you to one that you may not be too familiar with. You can pull it up on, actually it's on Tubi right now. It is called Bone Breaker. Okay, so it's two separate words. So there are other movies called Bone Breaker, but it's two separate words. So it's Bone Breaker 2020. The villain in this one, her name is Jane Colucci, and she plays the role of Grace. So this is a lady, all right, we're talking about the woods again. She owns acres and acres and acres of land that is hers. Now, I guess at some point she got tired of people trespassing. You know, you get it. You quit trespassing my land. Get off. But people trespass her land, and she doesn't just say, leave my land. She just says, okay, I'm gonna hunt you down, and I'm just gonna murder you. Yeah, just forget the signs or calling up. I'm just gonna murder you. So she invites these girls out, who are social media influencers, for fitness and all this stuff, and they think they're gonna be just shooting a series. Now these two girls aren't very fond of each other. They're kind of in competition a little bit, but let's go ahead out here and do this. This is opportunity. Get some more viewers and whatever. So they bring their crew out there, but they don't realize she brought them there to hunt them physically. She's not the best of hunters, though, because she's tracking them electronically. So you lose points with me. If you're going to be a psycho, then be a psycho, but don't cheat. You're cheating when you're and then at one point they're ready to shoot, and she's just like, basically, hey, you guys want to go ahead and start running because I'm about to kill you. And they're like, you're so funny. No, I just said, you better run now. And that's when it hits them like, this is serious? Yeah. Oh, and she doesn't just kill women. She kills men, and she is brutal. She has, I'm going to call her a sociopath. She has no emotion. She tortures them when she murders them, and she enjoys it. She has fun doing it. So watch this, because like I said, there are a couple of men in here who, if they had known, or had weapons, or they could have taken her, but nobody knows that you're going to get hunted. You think you're going to go shoot a film out here, a social media, post. But check it out, Bone Breaker 2020. It was on Amazon Prime, but I know it's on Tubi right now if you can check it out. Interesting, because I love, especially now, seeing women as actual serial killers. This is a good one to pick up. So Bone Breaker 2020. Watch that one. Tell us I'm curious what everybody else thinks. I've been introducing people to this movie for a minute now, and it's really good. Absolutely. Watch it through. It's a really good watch. So check, because I was happy, like, oh, it's a woman serial killer. But I didn't like this one. I didn't like her. I didn't like her at all. She's on my bottom list of serial killers. And, mainly because she cheated. Yeah. She didn't track them down like a real woodsman would track somebody down. You're a cheater, so you're getting X'd out. Check out Bone Breaker.
Bone Breaker.
Yes.
And I think because I would be kind of a cheater serial killer. I would be kind of a lazy serial killer. So I would be like, so be very, if I ever invite you over to my house for a get together, for a gathering, for dinner, just beware, because I probably have you on my naughty list.
Yeah. See, I'm not worried about that. Psychos don't kill other psychos. It just doesn't happen like that. Exactly. So I'm totally cool with coming over to her house for dinner. Yeah.
You'd be helping me.
And that's cool.
Party guest.
I'm cool. I might even have you I'm going to bring a +1. It's going to be a very particular person.
Someone that we want to dispatch.
Yeah. Bone Breaker 2020. Check it out.
All right. My next classic is, again, another black and white classic. It was made in 2014 by an Iraqi director, and it's called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And that girl, of course, is a vampire, all right? And she's in this little village, and she notices several people who are being mistreated. And what she does is she just simply dispatches the mistreaters. And so, again, if you like black and white, if you like vampire movies, She is definitely a villainous. She meets this guy who has been mistreated by his drug dealer and his father, and she kills the father. And so then the character, the male, has to decide if he wants to be friends with her. And he makes that decision, right? So if you get a chance, again, it's black and white. A girl walks home alone at midnight, 2014. I think it's one of those movies, Thommi, that has gotten overlooked.
Okay.
And, you know, we all know that, first of all, vampires don't realize they're villainous, right?
Right, because they're kind of victims. I mean, somebody made her a vampire.
Exactly.
And then again, she's more of a, like, if you ever watched the show Dexter, I like to refer to people like that as vigilante trashmen.
Absolutely.
As opposed to murder, because they're murdering the right people.
Exactly.
Yes, you can murder the right people. And I see them, so like as a vampire, she was obviously somebody's victim at some point, but at least she's using it for the good.
Absolutely. She's just dispatching people that
There you go.
need to be dispatched.
There we go.
And so I have to agree with her. But if you get a chance, a girl walks home alone at night.
And I'm going to check it out, and I'm going to recommend it to some people, because I have a feeling I'm going to really dig that one.
Oh,
and I would
love
think, and see, in my head when I watch stuff like that, I'm like, oh, if that was me, I would have totally did the kill like this. And him? Yes, get him.
Yeah.
You're a vigilante trash man, and that's okay.
And what I love about this film, again, is that it's kind of slow moving. It builds up. The suspense builds up. And, if you like a lot of blood, a lot of gore, it's done in black and white. She does. But this movie, it's minimal. But it makes you, it's more psychological, and it makes you think. And you are rooting for her. You're rooting for the vampire.
I dig psychological horrors a lot. Yeah, so good girl.
Yes, absolutely.
Good girl.
Yeah.
We're happy for you. All righty. Right. Let's get ready for one of the absolute classics that I think everybody has seen before, and that is 1996's The Craft.
The Craft.
Anytime anybody says The Craft, the first thing I think is Nancy.
Oh.
And that's who we're talking about today. We're talking about Fairuza. That too.
Yeah.
Fairuza Balk as Nancy Downs. Now, I'm sure we've all seen this. I mean, you see a million memes going out and creepy Nancy. So you get these witches that get together. They have all got these special powers. You know, they can morph their bodies, turn into somebody else. They're here. They can play tricks on people. They can make something come on TV. You know, and it's all fun and games. And, we're all friends, We're having a great time. But even with good witches, somewhere in there, there's always going to be somebody that has to go all evil with it and ruin the whole thing.
Witch.
Bad witch.
Yes.
Bad bitch, too. Nancy, right? So they learn that they can do this stuff. So one of the first things they start doing, which I was okay with, they started handling some of the bullies.
Yeah, I like that part.
I like that part. So I said some of the things they did to some of the bullies, they deserved it. But then one of the good witches, she's in love with this guy who is a total freaking jerk, whom is Skeet Ulrich.
Yes.
I would love to have Skeet Ulrich at FearCON.com at some point. Because he still looks so good. He looks so good still. But anyway, it's Skeet Ulrich, right? So she's in love with him, but he's a total, jerk. So she's cast a spell on him. This is the good witch. I'm going to cast a spell on him, make him love me, whatever. Nancy is jealous. So what does she do? One night they're at a party and she tricks him. She turns into the good witch. So he thinks he's about to get it on with the good witch. But what happens? Nancy pretty much sexually assaults this guy, okay?
Yes, she does.
She did. We're not going to cover it up or sugarcoat it because she's a woman. She did. She pretended like she was somebody else. He didn't know. And she did her thing with him in the bedroom, right? Okay, so now that the good witch is like, you know what, this is kind of getting out of hand. Maybe let me see if I can bind thee, Nancy, from causing yourself harm and harm to other people. I think we all know that line.
Yes.
Except Nancy's kind of powerful, and she finds out that they tried to bind her. So there's like, we got to do something else because this girl is killing people. She's off the hook with it. She's evil as can be. So they eventually, the good witch rather, finds out a way to stop Nancy. And it's brutal because when Nancy finds out, this chick is off the hook with it. She's a psychopath. Okay. I definitely did not root for Nancy. I wanted to see her demise just because she was so freaking evil, right? Ends up in a psych ward.
Yeah.
Where she belongs. But again, watch the new craft. Just don't expect it to be like the old one, but you're going to see how it's connected to the new craft. And this is with Fairuza Balk having been an actor since she was a child. She's really good, but she always plays like any other roles I've seen her in. She's always had this dark
Sort of
goth look.
as, you know, kind of the villainous.
Exactly.
I really feel like though Nancy, her environment created her. Her environment created her villainess.
Some of the bullies and stuff, like a lot of them got what they deserve, except nobody deserved to necessarily die.
Yeah. Well, you know, Nancy, you know, had an absent mother mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Lived in a trailer. She was trailer trash. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like on a certain level, her taking care of the bullies when she started out doing that, she was doing good work.
It's good work.
Good work.
But the best one though is when Rachel True's character, what she does to one of her bullies who, you know, makes these comments about, oh my gosh, I think I just found a pubic hair in my brush. And they're like, what? Oh no, it's just one of Rochelle's little nappy hairs. When she said that, you know what I said? I said, you know what? I hope they get her good. And boy, did they get that stuck-up little heifer. They got her good.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
You know, I think that's a really good way to get at people is when you touch on their vanities.
Oh yes.
Or
yes.
Definitely their weak spots. That's a great way to get them.
And she did, and I loved it. I loved everything except the part of Nancy's really evilness towards the end, because they were great together.
Yes.
You know, they were great together. They could have probably pulled a lot of stuff off with it. You know how they pull the pranks on the TV and make you think you're watching something, or make you think you're seeing something, or bugs crawling on your body that you can't. They could have had a lot of fun with that with a lot of the bullies, but Nancy just took it a little bit too far. And the girl is really psycho, but she belonged in a mental ward. Belong in a mental ward. But check out if you haven't already watched The Craft, this is an absolute classic. You have to watch it, 1996, and then watch the newer version. And I want to say it came out 2021. Yeah, kind of a reboot. Not the same, but you're gonna see where it connects Nancy in there. It's really a fantastic connection. Like when I got to it, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. So check it out. And it's a really diverse cast as well, which I like when it comes to movies.
Yes.
But yeah, David Duchovny is in this one. And oh my God, he is a freaking jerk. I could not stand him in here, but I always loved him in The X-Files. So, you know, I watch his movies because he's always been fantastic. But he's kind of he's got a bit of a toxic patriarchy. He is not a nice husband. No,
not a good guy
he's not. So he's one of those people I was happy to see get when he was coming to him. Yeah, but watch the first one. Watch the first Craft from '96, and then watch the new one. You'll enjoy it. They're both enjoyable watches.
So I'm gonna end with a classic to me.
Good.
It's the 2019 Sue-Ann Ma
Ooh.
Ellington
Ooh.
movie. Ma.
Octavia.
With Octavia Spencer. That's right. So Octavia wants to be popular.
She wants to be the cool. She wants to be the cool parent.
That's right. She buys some teenagers some booze, lets them come over and party in the
She's a party house.
And then continues to hang around with them.
You mean stalk them?
Stalk them, absolutely.
In the most creepy way freaking possible.
That's right.
Because she's a grown-ass woman.
She's a grown-ass woman.
And stalking these teenagers because what is with this yearning of her wanting these kids in her house and giving them booze and stuff? Like, what is with the yearning? And she has a daughter that she hides.
She hides. I think she suffers a little bit from Munchausen syndrome.
Yes.
Keeping her kids sick, right?
When she isn't even sick, for the pity and pity from people. Oh, poor mom got a sick kid. But she's not sick. This poor child, you pretty much have her locked up like flowers in the attic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I really don't want to tell you what happens, what transpires, why Ma is after these teenagers, but it's because of, the sins of the father sometimes visit the child.
Or pass on to the child.
That's what that's all about. So, you know what? She was bullied, and she simply takes revenge. And so she is my last classic Villainous. I love the character.
I'd love to see her play more of those characters.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to see Octavia Spencer play more characters. So if you haven't seen it, Ma, I think it's a good watch.
It's a very interesting. It's a very interesting watch.
It's a very good watch. Was it the best movie in my list of classics? No, but it's a really good watch. It's a really good, entertaining watch. And if you haven't seen it, now would be the time to watch it.
And I think that may have been the first one I've seen where I've seen somebody that I don't know what's going on in her head. She's psychotic, kind of stalking teenagers, wanting them to come to her house to party. Because usually by that age, you kind of want some quiet and chill with your kids. And no, she wants them out. She actually wants partying, drinking teenagers at her house. And it's weird because she doesn't know them and they don't even know how she got their phone number. Exactly. And she's calling, hey, don't make me drink by myself. And we're like, what? Is you nuts?
Yes. Personally, I want to party if I'm partying with adults. So we can have something to talk about. I don't want to
legally too.
Exactly.
Speaking legally,
against the law, getting teenagers drinks and getting them drunk and getting them high.
Yeah.
So check it out, 2019's Ma.
I definitely enjoyed that watch. It was a little different for me, so I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I liked Octavia Spencer, and I love the fact that it's a woman of color that's killing people.
And she's very versatile. Exactly. In a lot of roles she plays, she's versatile. And this was a great one for her. Because I want to see more women villains. I mean, while we're playing around here, I want to be the one with the rusted pickaxe going after some people. You know?
You know, Tommy, we will just have to make that happen.
We're gonna talk about that.
We're gonna have to make
yes.
that happen.
You guys, you're not even gonna recognize me. You're gonna be like, well, Tommy's where? She's right there with the pickaxe.
That's right.
Going through the skull.
Putting it in your skull.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, I love our little movie reviews.
I do too.
The
panels
down memory lane about horror. This year about horror villainesses.
This is like the highlight of my day. When somebody talks to me about horror, I love it. And they talk to me about horror where the woman is leading. I don't care if she's the psycho, or I don't care. Lately, I've been seeing a lot, which makes me happy, that the women are no longer just being damsels in horror movies. With
exactly.
oh my God, somebody come help me. They're killing my boyfriend. Heffa, no, you grab that spike bat right there and you help your boyfriend. Y'all jump him. Y'all jump the psycho. And I'm seeing more of that. And I just get so excited when I see that. And I get all happy. And I start telling people, you got to watch this movie. Because they tag teamed the psycho. And she wasn't sitting there just crying and whining and being a damsel.
Right.
She got up in there. And I love it. And sometimes I root for the villains, sometimes I don't. But I love it all.
Yeah, girl power.
I love it all.
Girl power.
Yes.
We've got to take the good with the bad,
yes,
right?
That's right.
So,
healthy balance.
Absolutely. So again, we're coming to the end of our horror women villainesses. Tommy, can you tell us where we can see you, where we can follow you?
Yes, so I have a movie review page, myself and my friends, Miss Jules, and that is at Gotta Be Real Movie Reviews. So real it's spelled R-E-L, like a film reel. So Gotta Be Real. You can find us on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. And we're also on the FearCON network. You'll see a lot of our horror content there. It'll be classic stuff. It'll be new stuff. And even with Gotta Be Real, if you come to our page, tell us what you want us to see. We review anything you want. We'll shout you out on the show. It doesn't matter what kind of movie it is. It doesn't matter what genre. We will pull up that movie. We'll watch it. We'll review it. We'll shout you out. We'll tell you to talk about it with us. Tell us what you thought about it. Because sometimes we review stuff and somebody can come in and say, hey, oh, here's what happened. Oh, we missed that. So we like to get feedback from our viewers. So check us out, Gotta Be Real Movie Reviews, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and FearCON Network.
Absolutely. And they just did a great, fantastic review of Jordan Peele's
Nope. Oh, I love that one.
So, oh my gosh, I loved it too. So definitely watch out for Tommy.
Check us out there. Dineta, your production. You have a production company.
Oh, the name of my production company?
Yes.
Four Figure Productions.
Yes.
And the next
for us voluptuous women.
Yes. The next event that we're putting on is a Night of Misfit Films, which is November the 25th through 27th at Alwyn House Gallery in downtown Phoenix.
Yes.
If you're in Arizona, come check us out. We drink.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we eat good.
We network with filmmakers. And we talk about the movies.
It is a fun event, Hunty. Trust me.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see the horror flicks.
Oh, yeah.
I've got my popcorn ready. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we have horror, sci-fi, dramedy, common dramedy, and then we have some international films, which is all of the above of what I just mentioned.
And some great filmmakers. You're going to see some great filmmakers. So always check them out, especially with indie. I find so much good stuff with indie artists. They pour their heart into it.
Absolutely.
And some of that you'll be viewing at yours.
Right. We don't have any money. So we just give our
Yet.
And our kidneys. And our,
maybe a toe or two. Maybe a bordello of blood if that's what they want. I'm okay with that.
My ribs, I'll give you one of those.
Yeah, you can have one of those.
Yeah, just come out and support FearCON. Come by watching the horror films that Chris McClellan and Jim McClellan are screening during the 3-day festival online. Come if you're in Arizona, if you're in Phoenix, and support
FearCON.com. PhoenixFearCON.com.
And support, support
our artists,
film.
right? There's going to be performances.
No performances, but the artists will be there. A lot of filmmakers will be in attendance, and you can talk to them about their movies. And we're doing several workshops, so you can check us out at a Night of Misfit Films at gmail.com or a Night of Misfit Films on Facebook, a Night of Misfit Film on Instagram, and I'll put information up on Instagram and Facebook for our workshops. If you want to come by a workshop, stick by and have some wine and watch a few movies and support, Arizona
supporters.
Filmmakers.
Yeah.
Well.
And we've got fantastic people, both with Full Figure Productions and PhoenixFearCON.com. They work hard to get these, films in here, film shorts or whatever, so people can get these artists out here, because there's so much talent out there from indie artists. And, we want to help them grow, right?
Absolutely.
That's our point, to help them grow, because they're good. Yeah, we got to support each other. So come out, Phoenix FearCON, and then Dineta's film production she has coming out. Check her out, Full Figure Productions.
Absolutely. And I guess until we meet again, until we kill together again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Until next time. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next year.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.